Hey, regardless if you're a seasoned investor or just getting started, you really need to take a look and assess your investment portfolio to make sure that you're maximizing the returns. So that's what we're going to do. That's what this video is all about. It's going to show you how we assess properties and specifically looking at the equity that you have built up in an investment property over the last couple of years and making sure you're getting the greatest returns on that. So let me kind of jump into the spreadsheet that we go through on every single property. Okay, you're going to have one spreadsheet for every property. So this is every single one. I encourage you to go ahead and analyze every property that you have at least once a year, if not twice, to make sure that you're getting that return. 2024 is different. The rates have changed. The last few years, we're finding a lot of investors have built up a lot of equity in their property, and we want to make sure that they're maximizing that, or they want to make sure that they're making wise decisions. So we go through this whole scenario. Either hang on, you got three scenarios. You got hang on to it and just keep on riding it out and doing the same thing. Refinance it. There's a couple different varieties there that we can take a look at. Pull some of that equity out and reinvest it into something else. Or number three, sell the property, reinvest it. All right. So we're going to look at those three scenarios to find out what one makes sense for this particular property. Obviously, everybody's investment portfolio and strategy is going to be a little bit different. So you got to take that in consideration as well. But let me go ahead and get started with this. So here we are over here in the upper left-hand area. Let's say we just keep it. This is a snapshot of the current property right here. This is this year's 2023 information. So this particular property is valued at 285. There's a loan on it for 131. So there's $154,000 worth of equity sitting there in this property. Now this is the important piece. What is that 154 getting you? I have been told, and a lot of other investors look at the equity in their property as like sitting in a piggy bank. Not doing a whole heck of a lot for you, right? So let's tap into that equity and get it pulled out. Let's loosen it up or get it loose and put it back to work for us. So that's what we're doing this whole assessment. That's the whole point. So we're going to continue to go through our evaluation of the property. If operating expenses and NOI and returns are foreign to you, then I encourage you to go look at a couple of our other videos. I'll put a link down below. You can kind of look at them to kind of explain to you how you assess properties. Most of you that are watching this are probably seasoned investors. So you're going to know that you probably look at this all the time. So currently we have an annual income of $21,600 on this property. We have operating expenses of almost $9,000. So it gives us an NOI, net operating income, of almost $13,000. Then we have our debt services currently on there. And then we have our 4 buckets of returns. Obviously with real estate, we have more than just cash flow. This one is cash flowing for us almost $5,000 a year, which is great. But you've got all these other 3 buckets as well, which gives us a total return of almost $18,000 a year. Then we look at what that means is return on equity. So this is 11.66%. Now, why are we looking at return on equity instead of investment? Great question. What we do is when we initially look at a property, when we first look at it, or maybe the first year or thinking about it, we always look at return on an investment. It's a great measurement to find out if an investment makes sense. However, after about 3 or 4 or 5 years of holding, that number gets diluted. So we turn around and take a look at what the return on equity is where we're currently at. These are on holdings that we've had or someone has had for quite some time. So basically what it's doing is it's taking your total returns, that $18,000, and dividing it by that 154, which is the amount of equity we have. That's how we get that percentage. So that's where we're currently at. So the next question is are you happy with that return, right? I mean, 11.66, really not that bad. Probably could do a little bit better. However, we did a couple of these. I should have used it as an example. We were down to like 4 or 5% when we were working with another investor. And so, we made some decisions, or they actually made some decisions in order to increase that. Only making 4 or 5% on your equity in real estate is not very good. So anyways, that's what that number is. So then we go to the next scenario. Let's do, go through a couple cash outs. We all, in the years past, we all did cash outs. It was basically the Burr method. Pull out your equity, roll it over, and do something else. Well, the rates have changed things a little bit. So let's kind of run through that scenario. Here it is. If we do a max out refi, in other words, doing an LTV, getting it back up to 75%. So that means a brand new loan at $213,000 with a brand new rate, by the way. We're still got the expenses. We have our net operating expense. Look at that, mortgage and payment went way up. And here's the big thing that's going to freak everybody out. Now all of a sudden we're cash flow negative fairly significantly. And then the DCR is all out of whack as well. So you got to take that in consideration. Once again, if you don't know what that is, you can Google it and look at it. But this gets us only a current return of $8,000. However, the return on equity actually goes down. It goes down 11.56%. So this scenario, the interest rates are just killing this whole scenario. So again, that goes back to the point. Just don't assume that it's the same old strategy that we've had in years past. So as these things change, you really have to reassess these. So that's this scenario of a max out refi. Let's say we don't do a full refi and we only take part of our equity out and we still leave like 105 in. So that would give us a new loan of $180,000. And if we run through that even drops it even further down. So this isn't really looking like a very good scenario for a refinance. So let's take a look at the last one, which is sell. All right, so let's go ahead and sell this. I know that makes a lot of people's stomach turn. You'd never sell real estate, but we're going to roll it into a new one, right? So this is the proceeds that we're going to receive when we actually sell it, $135,000, but we're going to roll that into another investment. Most likely for this scenario, I'm going to say it's going to be real estate. So let's kind of keep playing this out and see how we're doing. So the next step that we go through is, this is just a kind of a total page. So if we keep the property and it stays the same, we're not doing anything, we're not pulling any equity out, so we don't have any additional cash on hand if we just keep it. If we do a refinance, although the refinance really hurts up here, we end up with 80,000 bucks, right? We're going to have $80,000 that we pulled out of it. In the third scenario, when we didn't do the max, we're going to pull out 47. And then of course, if we sell it outright, I'm just pulling this number down, right? This just gets pulled down there. We're going to have $135,000. So the next step is, step 3 is, what are we doing with this cash that we are rolling out? Well, we're going to reinvest it. I'm assuming, again, that we're going to most likely do a 1031 exchange. These are the assumptions that I'm making as far as market conditions, rates, and down payments, and so on and so forth. And now we're going to go ahead and see where we come. Then we're going to add everything together to see how this whole strategy rolls out. Obviously, in the first scenario, if we keep it, we don't have any additional equity to roll into another property. So this is just a pull down. This is just a summation of what we've already gone through. In the second scenario, if we do a max refinance, this $80,000 that we pulled out allows us to purchase another property for $322,000. That's the value of it. And that's going to give us a return on investment of 17.019. Now, why ROI? For the same reason I mentioned before. When we initially get into an investment the first year or assessing it, we always do ROI, not ROE. If we do the next scenario where we only pulled out $47,000, that allows us to buy a property, an additional property for $189,000. And that gives us an ROI of 17.308. If we sell it, we have $134,000, which allows us to buy a property valued at a little over $500,000. Now, here's a key point. We took a $285,000 valued property, and we now have turned it into $536,000. Yes, our leverage went up. However, that leverage is working for you in these scenarios. So what is our return? Is 17.163 on this particular scenario. Now we need to add all of these investments together. So in the first scenario, obviously there's no additional property to add to it. However, in the second scenario, we have our initial investment rental, plus we have our second one that we just bought with the equity that we had in it. So now we have a cumulative return of those two properties of 22. This one gives us 19, not as great. However, if we sell it and we take all the proceeds and roll it back into an investment property, we have an accumulation of $23,000 return in that first year. So now what we do is we say, okay, this is where we're at right now. This is our current situation. And by pulling out more equity, rolling it into a new investment, do we want to get to here? Now, that's not a very big spread. I'll be quite honest with you. However, this is year one. So that is going to increase. It's going to escalate as you move through the years, right? You're using a 500, you got a 538 or 36, $500,000 property leveraging that you're leveraging and you have appreciation on. So the next question is do you want to go, this is going to take effort. This is effort, time, money in order to do this. And it may make sense for you and it may not. The other thing that you got to take in consideration is that lack of cash flow. So if you're looking at your investment property and you need it for cash, this scenario, this particular property may not make sense. If you're just still building your wealth, if you're still building your portfolio, you may want to really seriously take a look at that. Now all of a sudden you've got a $500,000 property working for you instead of a $280,000 property for you. So that's how we go through these and we really assess them. Love to get your feedback on it. Let me know if that works for you. If you have any questions on it. Obviously, we help people, we help investors all day long with this whole scenario. Most of them in the years past have been in the refi area, but we're getting more and more investors that are rolling over their investments. They're selling their existing assets and they're rolling into new properties. So we're seeing that as a big time trend. Make sure you're assessing your properties. Reach us if you have any questions. Like us, ring the bell, do all those special things, and we really appreciate your time. Thank you.